All right, so I'm in live mode. Over here's my patched channels showing up in this panel. Over here is my model. The next, or the second tab, tab 2, is PSD list 1. This is your queue list. So this is the list of queues. And as they play back, it will move through this list. So we'll be looking back and forth, switching back and forth between these two tabs. If you are doing a real show, your lighting designer will frequently have this table view on one monitor, and then on a completely separate monitor, they will have this list, this queue list view. And they won't have this one because in between those two monitors, there will be the actual real life stage. But we're going to just switch between these two and then keep an eye over here on what's going on our stage. So let's talk about setting levels, right? And what your syntax will be, your programming syntax to turn lights on at various levels, right? So at levels being an intensity, a brightness setting. So in order to turn a light on, first you need to capture it. And to capture a light, you just need to type in its name. And its channel number up here will turn, its tombstone will turn orange when you've captured it. Because we are in a programming situation, it's going to default to thinking that you're asking for a channel. So if I type in 1, it automatically thinks I'm looking at channel 1, right? And I'm going to take 1 through 6 because those are my front lights. And the letter T does through, and then 6. And then I'm going to use the letter A for at, and give those a level. Let's do like 15%. So they're just kind of glowing on at 15%. And let's say I don't love this for whatever reason, right? Maybe I just want the lights that are shining on people and not the lights that are spilling onto the other stuff. So maybe I want to change it up. Maybe I want to turn 1 off. So I can hit 1, channel 1 at O for out. That turns that off. I can hit, say, maybe I want to keep 2 because this is 2. But let's say 3, and then I want to keep 4. So 3, 5, and 6, right? So I can say 3 plus 5 plus 6 at, and I can either hit 0, 0, or I can hit the O button again for out. And so now what's left is just those 2 lights. And maybe I want my upstage person to be brighter than my downstage person. So maybe I want to take channel 4 and I want to set that to 50%. Okay. So now the upstage person is brighter, the downstage person is less bright. I am going to come over here and turn off the work lights just to get a better idea of sort of what that vibe looks like, right? What else? Maybe I'll do some of the backlight. No. Let's save the backlight for the next cue, right? So let's say this is the look, the first look that I want to see on the stage. I can record this now as Q1, right? What I think I'll actually do is record this as Q2 so that I can start from a blackout. So I'll record this as Q2 and then I'll go back and record Q1 as all lights turned off, okay? So to record a cue, the syntax is R for record, then you can just type in the cue number 2, hit enter, and it has now recorded Q2. If we come look over at our cue list, there it is, it's Q2. It has a fade time of 5, right? So in 5 seconds, those lights would fade up. Okay, we are now going to come back in and turn everything off and record Q1, right? So there's several ways that I could do this, but I might just do 1 through 6 at 0 at out, right? That turns those all off completely, and then record 1, enter. Now I have a Q1 and a Q2, right? Let's look at it and see how it looks, and then we can decide if we want it to happen faster or slower, okay? So I'm in Q1 right now. I hit my space bar, And my lights fade up over the course of 5 seconds to this level. So that is Q is from 1 to 2. Let's make it a little faster, okay? So if I want to change that Q time, there's some different ways. I can say Q2. How do I get it just to say Q? Normally I would hit this, the letter Q. There you go. That's the keyboard shortcut I'm talking about. All right, so I can say Q using the letter Q, 2, and then time, you would think it was T, but T is through. So I is time, and then let's make it 2 seconds instead of 5. So time 2, I hit enter. Now that fade up is in 2 seconds instead of 5. And now I want to go back to Q1 and try it again, right? There's some different ways to do it. One of them is to pop up your virtual keyboard and you can hit this back button and that'll take you back a Q, okay? If you were on the actual light board, there'd be a back and a forward and a go. And so that back button would take you back a Q. Let's now watch our 2 second fade up. I think that's great. The other way you can go back and forth is using the space bar as a go button, and it may ask you to change a setting and set that up the first time you do it. I've done that already, so now it doesn't ask me anymore. But if I am here and I hold down Command or Control on a PC and I hit space bar, nope, doesn't want to play that game. It says no. Control on a Mac. Maybe it's also Control on a PC. I don't know. So I hold down Control and I hit the space bar on a Mac and it went back a Q. So I can look at this again. Okay, so that's just going forwards and backwards. Let's write a couple more Qs, right? So why don't we add in our wash of backlight? So I'm going to add in all of those backlight pars. And if I know off the top of my head what they are, I don't have to switch back into my table. But let's say I don't remember. Oh, look, it's the color source pars. They're 31 through 36. 31, T, 36, A, 50, enter. But they're white. I want them to be a color. See how they're still orange? That means they're still selected, okay? And so while they're selected, I can change other attributes. I can come in here. I can make them kind of, let's go for a deep red situation. I'm going all the way into the red corner, okay? So now those are all red. Let's also turn off the front light on our downstage actor. So that would be channel 2 at, I'm going to just type 00, enter, right? So now we're seeing sort of a silhouette situation. And I think to emphasize that even more, I'm going to turn on my cyc lights also. So 41 through 49 at 60, enter, and let's match that color. Let's make those kind of red too. Like max red. Okay. So now we're really getting this vibe of guy in a red landscape, person creeping over their shoulder. That might be a lady. I don't know. It's hard to say. Okay, so let's record this now as Q3. R for record. 3, it automatically knows once you hit record that you're trying to record a Q. And then I hit enter. Now I have a Q3. Let's make this slower. So I just hit I7. Okay, so now Q3 has a time of 7. And it does show up here as well. So now I can look at my little Q list, right? So now I got a Q0 or a Q1 blackout, right? 2 second fade up. Now, in 7 seconds, this creepy red overtakes the whole world and that front light also fades down. Okay? What if I want, this is like a little twitchy, but I'm a lighting designer. This is a thing I do. What if I want that front light to fade down more quickly than the red is fading up? right? So I want it to like take that light off of him and then the red fades up. I do that by changing and making different the up time, which is the time for anything which has levels fading up, and the down time, which is for any light that's fading down. So if I'm still in Q3, which I am, I just hit time more than once, right? So my fading up levels are the red, and I want those to stay 7. If I hit I again, now it says downtime on that console, and we're going to have it just kind of pull that light off of him in 1 second, okay? So now I have a split time. Let's go back. Control spacebar. So here I am back. So now watch the difference. Takes him out, and then much more slowly, it fades all of that red in around him. Okay? So that is using a split up and down time. And that's something that you'll do fairly frequently. A lot of the time it goes the other way, where you bring up the intensity of the light in the place where we're walking to more quickly than you fade down the light where we're coming from. And so it makes that transition as someone moves across the stage more fluent. So that is time. And then the last thing I want to show you right now is how to delete a cue, right? So what if you make a cue and you don't like it? You have a couple of choices, right? You can write over it. That's not a problem. Or you can delete it. So if I want to delete this Q3 that I've built, I don't like it anymore, or I don't need it anymore. Finding a delete button is a little tricky. The backspace on your keyboard on your computer may or may not actually work. If you're like me and you have a physical keyboard, right, which has a backspace button on the main part, and then it has like a delete button that's over in that little floaty part above the arrows, that delete button does do this. But the other way to get to it is to pop open your virtual keyboard and look for the delete key on that to get delete to pop up, and then Q3, enter, and it will ask you to confirm before it will delete a cue that you've written, and you do confirm, and then it goes away, okay? So that's deleting a cue. The other thing you may need to know, or that may be useful for you to know, is if you wanted to insert cues in between, you can go all the way to hundredths in point cues in the ETC system now. So if you need to do a 1.5, a 1.7, a 2.34, you could. I often will skip cues instead, right? So sometimes I'll program in 5s if I know that I'm going to want to come back in and add a bunch of stuff. Or I'll start a new set of 10s at the beginning of each scene, so that if I'm adding cues or programming out of order, I don't end up too deep into the point cues weeds. We can talk about special things if you want it to do tricks. I can show you how to do things like effects or like sequences. So like if you want the lights to like flash in some sort of a pattern all over the stage indefinitely over and over again in a loop, I can show you how to make that kind of an effect. That's like a step-based effect. Or if you wanted a cue to automatically follow after an existing cue, that's this follow hang column. So if you want cues to automatically follow one after the other, let me know and I can explain how that specific thing works a little bit more. Or if you want effects, we can talk about that a little bit more too. But the basic functions are turn the lights on, compose the look on the stage, record that look, give it a cue number, give it a timing, and then go back and check and see if the timing works and the look looks the way you want it to. So those are the steps for programming in this virtual light board. Let's get into it next class. Thanks, friends. Bye.